Hi everyone, welcome back to our masterclass on biohacking your way healthy. I'm Dr. Berzin, the founder and CEO of Parsley Health. And today we are diving into the science of the ways in which we are living our lives that are actually turning off our health. Now, the first major way that we're turning off our health is in consuming too much sugar. We heard earlier in part one how we're consuming 74 pounds of sugar a year. Now, what happens when you eat sugar? Why does it matter? Well, the first thing that happens is we increase a hormone called insulin, and insulin causes us to store fat. In addition to that, sugar blocks leptin, which is the hormone that tells us that we're full. It blocks our hunger. And so if we don't have leptin, if we have it turned off, we're just hungrier and hungrier. And that leads us to chronically, constantly consuming more and more sugar all the time. Now, what does excess consumption of sugar do? Why do we care? Why does it matter? Well, it's not just about weight gain, and it's not just about diabetes and metabolic syndrome and increasing blood sugar, the things we hear about. We know that the excess consumption of sugar increases our risk for dementia, heart disease, fatty liver, and depression, and of course, diabetes. Sugar affects us system-wide, and so it's so important that we understand the science of this important negative biohack. Now, the next negative biohack is sedentary lives. As we said earlier, we're looking at screens 11 hours a day. We are sitting all the time. Sitting increases fatty food craving. It causes our muscles to be less insulin sensitive. So when you eat sugar, you eat carbohydrates, your muscles don't listen and they're not able to put that sugar away into them. And so instead the sugar is stored as fat. Sitting increases our risk of depression, and those who spend the most hours a day sitting had the highest risk of early death despite exercise. So if you're sitting all day and then you get an hour of exercise, guess what? It's not doing it. It's not improving your health. This accounts for 9% of early deaths. So we don't take sitting very seriously. Sitting's nice, it's comfortable, but it's actually depleting our body's natural health. Now, the next way that we are biohacking in the wrong direction is destroying our microbiome. These are the trillions of bacteria that live in and on us, and they control everything from our immune system to our nervous system to our brains. They help our digestion. They help us digest our food. Now, we've been destroying these microbes through the foods that we're eating, through the medications that we're taking, through overly clean environments that kill off these good bugs. And it's a problem because we're causing more anxiety, more depression, more chronic fatigue, more chronic pain, more irritable bowel syndrome by depleting our microbes. When we deplete our microbes, it triggers an inflammatory response because our microbes are important for helping dampen that response. And then you can get autoimmune conditions, which is a condition where our immune system attacks our own healthy cells. Autoimmune disorders can include irritable bowel disease, celiac, rheumatoid arthritis, type 1 diabetes, and multiple sclerosis. By depleting these microbes, we are depleting our body's natural ability to control our immune system in the most effective way. Now, the next way that we're turning our health off, well, it's not just us, it's what's around us. Environmental toxins are real. Things like air pollution, herbicides, pesticides, xenoestrogens, which are chemicals that mimic estrogen in our bodies. They're found in cleaning products and beauty products. They're found in bottled beverages. They're even found in processed foods, and they're found in the air around us. Now, you might say, well, why do these chemicals matter? Aren't they everywhere and just a little bit isn't going to hurt me? Well, we know in animal populations, we're inhibiting entire populations of fish from reproducing just from the presence of sunscreen in the water. Now, we know that these chemicals interfere with our hormone function, and we know that we're seeing rising levels of PCOS and endometriosis and impaired reproductive function. We also know that these chemicals penetrate our lungs and get into our bloodstream, and they cause more and more inflammation, which leads to a gradual narrowing of our arteries, and that can increase our risk of heart disease and lung disease. And the last way that we're biohacking our way in the wrong direction is this excess screen time. It really matters. So the blue light from our screens interrupts our sleep. It interrupts the pineal gland in the center of the brain from producing melatonin, which controls our sleep-wake cycles. We also know that this blue light disrupts our brain into thinking it's daytime, and that all the light around us, especially our LED lights, which have a low-grade flicker all the time, they're actually disrupting our ability to fall asleep. We know that looking at screens leads to 2 times greater suppression of melatonin than any natural light. We also know that it doubles the delay of our sleep phase. We know that these screens are actually breaking down the gray matter in our brain. It's been shown that looking at screens leads to something called gray matter atrophy. And we also know that looking at screens for more than 3 hours a day raises your risk of metabolic syndrome by 3 times. And metabolic syndrome is what is a precursor to diabetes. And then the final scary, crazy fact is that looking at a screen more than 4 hours a day, well, that increases your risk of premature death by 50%. So the impact of these things on all of us is huge. We know that toxins, inactivity, technology, and sugar are like turning the off switch on our health. And so what we want to do is find out how we can flip the switch and turn our body's natural ability to generate optimal health back on.